Hello and welcome to our discussion today. We want to consider career stages, dynamics, and management, right? Um, and we are hoping that by the end of our discussion, you should be able to identify the different stages of a career, right? The career life cycle. We should be able to describe the principles of career dynamics and progression. We should also be able to evaluate career development strategies within organizations and assess the role of career management activities in the development of both the employee as well as the organization. And then we'll also look at some career management models. Um, so we'll look at some career management models. All right. So we go on to first the career stages, right? So in the life of every employee, they have a cycle, right? And there's a start point and the end of everyone's career. You don't expect that someone works forever. It's not even possible because even the human being himself has a birth date and a death date. So by all means, at some point in time, they would exit their career phases. Okay. So the career life cycle has 5 stages. There is the entry, the progression, you have the mid-career, the later career, and then the end of the career. So at the entry is where you have the individual um, gaining employment or where the individual has access to the organization or is employed into the organization. So that is the entry point. And at this point, you realize that the individual himself who has started work starts to direct or starts to define or plan his career. Okay, so for example, an individual completes school and just after school starts to work. At the start of work is when they start to plan their career. Okay, you will notice that not everybody gets the job that they are dreaming of or the job that they want to do. But even then, on the job, they start to plan how they want their work life to be like. Okay. So that is the entry point. Then you have the progression. The progression is where the person has been on the job for some time, is developing some skills, has gone through some training, or is being mentored by um, a matured person in the organization or an experienced person in the organization. So at the progression stage, you realize that there's a lot of management of that employee's performance, right? You want to check if they are developing well, if they are learning like they have to learn, if they are producing the results that they are required to produce and all of that. So that is the progression stage. Then you have the mid-career. The mid-career is where the individual has learned a lot, right? Has acquired enough training, can stand on his own without any help from anyone. So the individual or the employee has got to a level where they have attained some skills and have acquired some training. At this point or during the mid-career, if the employee is not careful, then they plateau. The plateau here means that they get to a point where they are not adding on any skill to themselves. They are not learning any new thing. They are just relying on the experiences that they have built up over the years. So at the mid-career stage, in order for employees not to plateau, it's expected that these employees are exposed to new challenges, right? So if that employee has been on a particular job for a while, what you do is you you expose them to other challenges, to maybe new departments, or you expose them to problems that they have not seen before. So as you do this, they get to learn more skills that will help them not to plateau. Okay, so another thing that can be done to ensure that they do not plateau is um, rotating them on the job. So today he's with this department, and then 2 months, 3 months time, he's moved to another department, or from one geographical area to the other. But as much as possible, you realize that this employee is moving around just so that they do not plateau. Right. And then at this point, it's also important that employees who are doing well are recognized, because as these employees are recognized, it will empower them to do more, or it will motivate them to put in more effort. So at the mid-career stage, it's important that outstanding employees are recognized. Then you have the later career, where now people are maturing, right? They have a lot of experience and can mentor other young employees on the job. At this point, it is important that the employee in his later career gets reassurance, all right? Sometimes employees at this stage they get insecure, right? And they feel that the young ones who are coming in are going to take them off the work that they are doing, or are going to take them off the role that they are playing in the organization. So it is important that management reassures employees in their later career stage, all right, so that they know that they are still valuable to the organization, and their experiences and expertise are still needed in the organization. It is important that there's continued respect for such employees, because at this stage, there are some new employees who are relatively younger and do not have as much experience as these later career stage employees. So it's important that you ensure continuous respect, and also expose them to new opportunities to use the skills and the experience that they have acquired over the years. Okay. Then finally, you have the end of career, where in our parts of the world, we call it retirement. Okay. So the person comes to a point where they have to exit the organization. So this is the retirement phase. And at this point, what can help the employee, or what the organization can do to help the employee, is to sometimes expose them to alternative work options. So yes, the person is on retirement and so may not have to work full time, but such employees have so much experience that they can be very valuable when offered part-time roles, or when they are given some consultancy roles in the organization. However, it is important to note also that at this point, the employees are very aged and so may not be as productive as they used to be. So management has to be able to find ways where they can balance the weakness in age and strength, all right, against the expertise that the end of career employees have. Okay, so basically, these are the career stages, career life stages. You have the entry, the progression, the mid-career, the later career, and then the end of career, right? So as the individual stays in the organization during the progression stage, remember we said the progression stage is where you acquire skills, right? You go through training, you get experience and all of that. So during the progression stage, there are a lot of things that happen, and these things that happen are grouped in 3 stages. You have the expanding stage, you have the establishing stage and then the maturing stage, right? At the expanding stage, you have the employee now growing and acquiring new skills. And then at the establishing phase, you realize that the skills that they have acquired those skills are helping them to perform the functions assigned to them effectively. And as they do this over time, there's a development in how they work. They tend to be more stable, right? They tend to produce better results. And then that takes them into the maturity or the maturing stage where they are now advanced. They have excellent mastery over whatever skill or whatever um activity they are expected to perform, right? And this is the point where if you are not careful, they may plateau. So um by the end of the career progression where you have them maturing, then it means they are getting to the point where there's the possibility that they will plateau. So in order for them not to plateau, it's important that you expose them to new challenges, rotate them on the job, and help them to keep improving and not stay where they are, right? So this is the career progression curve, right? And it shows how progress happens over a period, over the growth stage, right? So in the progression, you have the establishing phase where they start on the job. Then there's the expanding phase and then the maturing phase. You will notice that for every employee, the start point is the same, right? And then as they learn new skills and they pick on different tasks and they perform different functions, they they tend to expand, right? And the expansion is not the same for everybody. You have them expanding at different rates and at different phases. At the maturing phase, you realize that three things can happen to an employee at the maturing phase. One, employee may decline when they get to the maturing phase. And what this means is that they are not adding on any new skills and they are also not so proficient in the work that they do. And so over some time, they tend not to be as productive as they were, so they decline. There's the other group of employees who plateau. Plateau here means that they don't go down and they also don't improve. It's a straight line and they remain like they um they have been. So for an employee like that, you meet them 5 years from now and they will still be where they were at the time you were leaving them. Okay. So that is the um plateau phase. And you and I know that as a person, it's very difficult it's to stay on this straight line, right? It is very difficult to remain on this straight line. And the possible thing that can happen is that there will be a decline. Okay. And then for the third group of employees, you are going to see that they will continue growing. Okay. So even though they are maturing, they are still growing because they are exposed to more opportunities, they are exposed to different challenges, and they are exposed to new environments. And so they continue growing. All right. So basically, this is the career progression curve. You can use this for yourself so that you check and see if you are declining as an employee, if you are plateauing as an employee, or you are growing as an employee, right? Then we have career development strategies. Okay, there are various strategies that organizations use to ensure that employees develop their careers, right? The career development here, you'll notice that it's two ways. The employee develops his career, and the organization also has a role to play in developing the career of the employee. And most organizations do this in various ways. There are times that, for example, if there is a role in the organization, there's always the point where management thinks about whether to promote an employee, uh, an employee who has a lower position, to promote that person to fill the role that is vacant, or to recruit someone from an external source to fill that position. So in order for organizations to help the employees to develop, in most of the cases, they would look within and promote someone, or they will get somebody from outside to come in and train whoever it is that they want promoted. Okay, so the make or buy decision that employees do, or that organizations go through, is actually a strategy that helps to develop the career of employees, right? And then another strategy that organizations use is to develop paths, or to define how to get to a particular role. So, for example, if someone wants to become um, maybe a professor, right? There's a clear route as to how to become that professor. In that case, what the organization has done is to put together a roadmap that would allow every employee who is able to go through to attain the level that they want to attain, right? So one, organizations can promote from within, okay, to ensure career development. Another thing that can be done is to set career routes, or to develop career paths that employees should take in order to develop. And then another strategy is to integrate the employee's performance with systems, okay, such that you can monitor and see how the employee is developing. So, for example, in a case where you have a performance management system that has kept track of an employee who is working or has been working for about 15 years, you get to know where the employee started from, and then after 15 years, where they are at. And that helps with career development. And then the last strategy we would consider is the cross-functional project teams. And this is very good when the employee or the individual has to learn experientially on the job. What happens is, for example, if the employee has training in maybe IT, then for a typical project where you have all the other disciplines, maybe you have engineers, you have finance team, you have HR team, and all of those on one project, this individual is also included in the team. You realize that with his IT background, he gets exposed to all the other disciplines in a real world situation, all right, not a hypothetical situation. So on the project, as he works with this diverse group of people, he gets to pick up um, expertise from them. Okay, so that helps that in quote IT professional to pick up other lessons from the various disciplines that are represented on the project that he's working on. Okay, so that's the use of the cross-functional project teams. And these are some strategies that organizations use for career development for their employees. Okay. So some tools like the personal development planning, where the individual himself sits down and then puts together a plan, or the organization puts together a plan that would show the route or shows the roadmap to attain certain levels in the organization. That is the personal development planning. Then you have the knowledge sharing systems, where sometimes for a group of people, you can have individuals from the group sharing what they know, what they have acquired, experiences that they have had over the period. So as the knowledge is shared, you realize that it cuts across. Everybody gets to share in the experiences that are shared. So, for example, if an employee sits in one of these knowledge sharing sessions and listens to someone who has been working for over 40 years, that new entrant or that new employee gets to pick up experience from a 40-year-old experienced employee. All right. So 40 years of experience. He gets to pick up 40 years of experience in just the knowledge sharing session. All right. And then another tool is the rotational assignments. Go on this job. Today he comes back, you send him on another job, maybe different from the one he was engaged in. Right. So those are the rotational assignments. So some of these tools are strategies that organizations use to ensure that there's development in the organization. And there are some practices that are also used. I'll run through this quickly, right? So sometimes they are posted or postings regarding internal job openings. You can have them sit for a training session or go for a structured career development session, right? You can also have performance appraisal, and this helps to plan their careers. Then you can also have an employee being counseled by his manager. Okay, so you have the career counseling by manager, lateral moves to create cross-functional experience. You have career counseling by the HR department, right? You have some programs that prepare people for retirement. You also have succession planning programs. You have formal mentoring programs. Then you also have situations where people share common career paths. And so you group them together and then they get to learn from each other. And then there's also the dual ladder career paths. Okay, so for example, someone can be in the university pursuing a first degree and then also pursuing a professional program. So maybe a marketing program or an accountancy program, but all of them at the same time. So that's the dual ladder career path. Then you can also have books or pamphlets on career issues, and these are made available to employees. And as they read them, they improve themselves. Then you also have written personal career planning. Okay, and this can be done, like I said earlier, by the organization or it can be done by the individual himself or herself. Then you can also have assessment centers. So for some organizations, they have training centers. And then from time to time, the individual goes for training and then it's assessed at the end of the period. So you have assessment centers, you have peer appraisals, you have career workshops, and then upward or subordinate appraisals. The peer appraisal is where you have a colleague appraising you or a colleague measuring your performance. The upward appraisal is where you have a subordinate appraising you. What we are used to is where you have a supervisor appraising you. That's the normal one that we all know of. But there's also the peer appraisal and then the subordinate appraisal. Okay, so we quickly look at the career management process, and the process is quite straightforward, but it starts with a a policy from the organization. So the organization has to come up with a policy as to how talent will be developed or how career will be managed in the organization. All right. And it will state clearly how to manage talent, whether in the case where there is a vacancy, you either make or buy. Make is where you promote someone to fill, or buy is where you get an external person to fill. But this will be dependent on the policy of the organization, right? And then if, for example, the organization has aligned towards the make decision, it's important that there are talent audits. So you check the talent that you have available in the organization, or what your current employees can do and what they cannot do. So as you conduct the audit, or as you perform the audit, you are able to identify skills gaps. Okay, we did this earlier on when we were looking at the needs assessment, right? So you identify gaps in the skills or the experience of your current employees, and then based on that, you can make a decision, right? You also have the performance and then potential assessment. So you can check what the employees are currently doing as against what you expect them to do, or the potential that you expect them to have. All right. And then all of this will feed into the succession planning. So for example, I'm looking forward to a situation where particular employee will grow into a manager in 5 years. I'll look at the current performance or current assessment, and then also look at that employee's potential assessment in 5 years' time. Okay, and that will help me to know if that employee is fit for the role in 5 years' time, right? And then based on all of this, you are able to plan well for the career, right? And it's important that there are personalized development routes. You cannot develop people in a group. It has to be done individually, because people have individual strengths and individual weaknesses. And as this is done, once this is done, you are able to develop programs that are tailored towards the needs of each employee. And that would also have in mind, or it would focus on the future, right? So the development programs can be training, can be mentoring, or you can have rotation. So basically, this is the process. You realize that it starts with policies regarding career management in the organization, right? And based on these policies, that is what determines whether the organization is inclined towards a make, or it is inclined towards a buy. At this time, I believe that you understand. If I say a make or a buy, you understand what I mean. So the policies will determine whether the organization is inclined towards making or is inclined towards buying. All right. And then it will also inform the kind of audits that are done. So there are talent audits. And these talent audits, you realize that it will be based on the demand and supply forecast. So you check your current situation, all right, the current employees you have, the current experience or skills that they have against what you want them to have in the future. All right. So that is what will feed into the talent audits. You also have the performance and potential assessments feeding into the talent audits. And once you conduct the talent audit, it will inform the succession planning as well as your career planning in that organization. Okay. The performance and the potential assessment also directly inform how succession planning will be done in the organization, right? And then based on all of this, the organization is able to come up with the development process and development programs to run to ensure that the employees in that organization are ready for future roles as well as current roles. Okay, I believe this is clear. If you have any question, you can let us discuss, okay, on our platform. All right. So we move on to the competency-based career planning. This career planning is based on competence. All right. It's based on competency, and it's based on the skills that the individual has, or how well the individual is able to perform a particular task. Okay. So there are three bands. You have the band one, where you have your basic skills, the band two, where you have the intermediate skills, and then the band three, where the person has now gained experience and so has advanced competencies in that area. Okay, so this is it. Okay, the career ladder based on competence. So the competency band one is where you have the basic training and experience, right? And then once you hit the limit, all right, you move to band two, where you continue with training and experience to improve on the basic training that you have had. Okay. And then there's also a limit that you aim at where you want to end. Okay. You give yourself the time, or if you are not working with the time, there should be a measure. Okay. Once you get there, then you move to the band three, where you now require advanced training and experience in that particular area, or you possess advanced training in that particular area. So sometimes you are filling a form and you are asked if the competence level in a particular activity is at the basic level, is at the um, it's at the intermediate level, or it's at the advanced level. So you have the basic, intermediate, and then advanced. And these are ways that you can also check and see the career development of an individual or of an employee, right? So you check if they have moved successfully from the basic level to the intermediate level, and then also successfully from the intermediate level to the advanced level, right? Okay. So like I said earlier, managing an individual's career, or planning an individual's career, can be done by an organization, right? But there are also times that the individual himself can come up with ways of managing their own careers. Okay, so there are some theories that guide how individuals will be able to manage their careers. The first one is the portfolio career, right? And here, what this means is that that individual has multiple roles. And in performing those multiple roles, they are developing themselves and they are preparing themselves for the future. So that's the portfolio career. In this case, you would have an employee or an employee, you will have an employee or an individual who is rounded and is ready to perform any function that is assigned to him, because he has competence based on the fact that he has performed a lot of roles, or he has been assigned to a lot of roles at a particular time. Okay. Then we have the protein career, right? And this is self-directed by the individual himself, so that as he progresses, he tends to adapt. So today, if he's assigned a particular role, he does it and does it very well. When he's assigned a different role, he adapts, okay, to also get the task done. And that is the protein career. In this case, the individual directs himself and adapts to different situations and adapts to different environments, just to be able to develop his or her career. And then you have the career anchors. And the career anchors here refer to some decisions that the individual makes regarding his career. Okay, so there are some concepts, and these concepts will guide that individual or that employee as he progresses in the career. Okay, there are several career anchors, and we look at according to the literature, we look at the 8 career anchors that employees or individuals can work with. And these anchors are such that they will guide the decisions of the employee. Okay. The first one we look at is the autonomy or independence. So there are some employees or some individuals who are guided by autonomy. In a case where there's a task to be performed, this individual, whether he has support from colleagues or he has support from management or has support from subordinates, he will still get the work done because he believes in independence, right? Then there are others who are guided by security and stability. So these are individuals who will look for job roles that are stable or that will provide some security for them. There are also those whose career anchors are functional competence or technical expertise. So these individuals are guided by what they can do or the tasks that they can perform within the function that they have been assigned. Okay, so they focus on the technical skills they have as well as the functional competence that they have. Then there are those whose anchor is on general management. So they are guided by general management. They ensure that things are done well, tasks are performed well and on time, resources are well used. So they are inclined towards general management. There are also individuals who are anchored on entrepreneurial creativity. So such individuals would be, most of the times, they would function like entrepreneurs. They would want to come up with new things. They would want to take on tasks that no one has tried before. They want to be the first to do it and all of those. All right. So that is the anchor that will guide such individuals. There are also those who are guided by service to a cause. Okay, so maybe the person has an issue related to health, and that cause is what guides them. And so every activity that they will be involved in is such that the activity is directed towards that cause. Okay. And then there are those who are anchored on pure challenge. They will take on every challenge and they will do it as if they are competing with everybody, right? And that is what guides their career progression. And then the 8th anchor is the lifestyle. Okay, so people go through their careers and they do it as a lifestyle. They do it as the way they want to be, all right? Not anything serious, just their lifestyle. So these are some career anchors that guide the decision of employees or that guide the decision of individuals. And these anchors are such that they help the individuals to be able to plan their career and plan them effectively. Okay. In these times, or according to Shane, there's been a shift. Okay, there used to be the focus on job security. Now, there's been a shift from job security to employability security. So what it means is that employees are no more just interested in remaining on a particular job for a long time, but they are interested in knowing that even if they leave this job today, tomorrow they will be employed because they have what it takes to work, or they have the expertise, or they have acquired what it takes to be able to function well everywhere. It doesn't matter the name of the organization. Okay. So what have we spoken about today? We have said that career management or managing someone's career through the start until the end is a shared responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of the employer. It's not just the responsibility of the employee. It is both the responsibility of the employer and the employee. So it is a shared responsibility. And organizations must ensure that they are responsive to dynamic career paths. People will not develop, or employees will not chart the same career paths. People's paths are always different, and it's important that organizations are also responsive to these dynamic career paths. And then it's also important to note that effective career development depends on structured planning. It depends on assessment as well as supportive policies. All right. And the most important is the policy. So once there's a policy, it means there's something to work with. Okay. So the policies are very, very important. The policies are what will outline the planning processes, the assessments, and all of those. Okay. And then finally, every individual or every employee can use the career anchors that we discussed to enhance their personal growth and align their personal growth to the organization's goals, right? So what you are supposed to do today is to map and present your own career plan using the competency bands that we spoke about and then the career anchors. So you can select any of the career anchors that align to you and explain to us how you will use that to develop a career plan for yourself. And this will be presented in class. So as you put together your work, know that you would be presenting it in class. So whilst presenting, we'll be using the opportunity to discuss it further. Thank you very much, and I will see you shortly.